Yesterday was the anniversary of Hurricane Isabel that made landfall across North Carolina. Of course, all kinds of destruction. It was some of the worst tidal flooding that we've seen here in Hampton Roads since 1933. That was the big Chesapeake Potomac hurricane. And of course, I remember working Hurricane Isabel. Sandra Parker and I, she was our former anchor, we were out at our transmitter site, and we were there just supposed to be backup. In case the studio here in Norfolk, we've got the Elizabeth River literally right behind the station, and water's never gotten into the station, but we had the sandbags put up all around the building.
I would hope it hasn't.
Yeah. And, they've since raised Brambleton Avenue on the front side of the station, so that should prevent any kind of flooding over on that side, but we still have the river behind us. So Sandra Parker and I, we were there. We were just supposed to be backup. They would come to us every once in a while. Well, with the wind and the rain being so bad, back then we had the trucks, that had the big mast that you had to put up to do live shots, that it was even too dangerous for our crews in the field to do live shots. So Sandra Parker and I would just step out the back door of our transmitter in Suffolk in the driving rain, do a quick little update, and, at that point, you're out there for 1 minute or 2 minutes. Eugene, you've been out in the field,
Yeah.
You're soaking wet by that point, and we weren't supposed to be doing that, so we didn't have, all the gear that the crews in the field have. And of course, at the time, we didn't have crews out in the field who were able to relay back. Cell service wasn't.
No.
Yeah, that really wasn't a thing,
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, and so we really at the time didn't know how bad things had gotten with Isabel. We've later found out that as the tides came up, of course, the Midtown Tunnel flooded. They were trying to get the tide gates down, and one of them was stuck, and there were some crew folks who were there trying to, get that gate down, and they got swept into the tunnel. They were able to get back out, but the tunnel was closed for months as they had to pump all the water out. So it was quite a scene. The amount of trees that were down and the power outages that lasted for weeks. Pocosin, especially up along the peninsula, was hit very hard by Isabel as well, and that's something certainly that we'll remember. And I say that as we look out into the Atlantic Ocean now, because we have Tropical Storm Gabrielle.
Mm-hmm.
Gabrielle yesterday didn't look like much, and we have certainly seen a flare-up of the thunderstorms around the center as we've gone through the day today. That most of the activity, still off towards the east. We still have some westerly shear, those winds blowing from west to east, that have sort of been blowing those tops off of the thunderstorms there. But we do expect Gabrielle here to work its way off towards the northwest. And as we get into the weekend, that wind shear will start to lessen. Expected to become a Category 2 hurricane, possibly even a major hurricane into Monday and Tuesday. You can see those winds getting up to 110 miles per hour, but curving out to sea, as many of our storms have done this season. So that's certainly good news that we're watching with Gabrielle. And then again, as I mentioned, the fog finally starting to lift, and we're looking at sunshine and temperatures up into the mid-80s this afternoon.
That's what I was waiting on right there, Evan. What we got for the weekend, looking forward to the sunshine. And It's interesting you were saying there about Gabrielle. You said, like most storms have done, they've kind of stayed out. Is this season any different to you than past seasons that we've had when it comes to hurricane season? Are you seeing any trends that you think are pretty interesting?
Well, I think it was very interesting that we went through the peak of hurricane season, a span of 18 or 19 days without a named system. That's only happened one other time since we've been really keeping the records since the 50s. Of course, hurricane records go back a little bit further, but we talk about the satellite era when we had the satellites up in space, which didn't happen until the 50s. So this is only the second time that it's been that quiet. Now, I remember last year we were talking about a very active season in the forecast, and we were having sort of the same discussion that things were quiet. And you might remember last season was really backloaded when we had Hurricane Milton and Helene. Yeah, which were later into late September and early October. And of course, Helene did all the damage back across Western Virginia and especially Western North Carolina. Yeah.
So I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, Evan. So before I let you go, that's kind of going to be my follow-up reminder for folks, if you can give it to them. Just because we're over the peak doesn't mean that we're out of the woods just yet when it comes to these hurricane systems.
That's right. The peak isn't the midway of the season. It's not half the activity is before and half the activity is after. It's really the day that historically there have been the most tropical activity in the Atlantic. Really, about 60% of the season is after the peak. So, we still have a ways to go. Usually for us, by about mid-October, we're mostly in the clear. We start to see systems that more form in the Gulf. These systems that come off the coast of Africa, they tend to make that curve off towards the north. So we still have about 4 weeks to go. And, some of these storms can pop up and rapidly intensify just in the matter of 2 or 3 days. So there's sometimes not a lot of warning, as we saw even last year with some of these storms. So that's why it's still always better to be prepared, even if there's not anything out there right now. There's one wave coming off the coast of Africa that we're watching, 20% chance of development. But right now, things are looking pretty good for the U.S.
Well, I would think I would speak for a lot of people and say my favorite hurricanes are the ones that don't actually hit land, right, and endanger people. So we appreciate you, Evan, for coming through on the stream with us today, and definitely for giving us a great forecast. Even though you're not responsible, I'll give you some credit for that.
Well, I'll take it.
I'm sure. I know you got to get ready for the noon, so I'll let you do that, man. But thank you so much for dropping by, for sure.